Knowles.
How's it going?
It's good to see you. Right. I called Matt Walsh the Catholic Michael Knowles.
He did something incredible.
We got to toast the guy. He really did.
It was, he sent out one tweet, and he said, we should all go to Planned Parenthood and have a demonstration. 3 days later, you had what CBS reports as over 1,000 pro-lifers there. It was one of the most powerful events I've ever attended in my life.
And no kidding.
It was. I've never been to a pro-life rally of that magnitude. I've been to conservative rallies which are pro-life, but I've never been to such an explicit. Also, I've never been that close to a Planned Parenthood that I know of. I'm sure I've walked by them and I just didn't notice. That is a ghoulish place. That is a spooky, spooky place.
Is it really?
Yeah. And to see 1,000 pro-lifers there, there were politicians, there were political activists, and, giving scientific arguments against abortion, giving ultimately what are philosophical and theological arguments. And you see these sort of concentric circles, and then toward the back, just people reciting the rosary or praying.
That's great.
The big sign says, pray for Brian Sims. And it just struck me. I could have cried on the spot.
Yeah.
It just struck me. It's all real.
Yeah. It's all real. I know.
It's all real.
You know, when I was researching Gosnell, the scene actually made it into the movie. The cops go in and they find Gosnell was like any serial killer. He was keeping souvenirs of his kills. He was keeping babies' feet, right? And the cops went in, and one cop turned to the other and said, "Is that normal?" And the guy said, "I've never been in an abortion clinic before. I don't know." I thought, it's real. It's real. Yeah,
that's right. And so the rally itself was unbelievable. There were about half a dozen pro-abortion protesters that wouldn't come up. Planned Parenthood does not allow its staff or its even its volunteers to speak to the pro-life demonstrators. They have patient escorts. And the idea here is the patient escorts are bringing these women and protecting them from the violent, angry, intimidating pro-lifers. Those people praying the rosary on the other block. No, what it is that Planned Parenthood needs volunteers to make sure that their customers don't finally come to their senses, don't wake up. Nobody looks happy walking into an abortion clinic.
Of course.
Nobody's skipping for joy coming into an abortion clinic.
And what's fascinating to me, Chris Cuomo did this the other day, is one of their arguments, and Peter Singer, the guy...
Morally bankrupt philosopher.
Exactly, from Princeton. They make the argument, well, this is a serious, women take this decision seriously. It's a painful decision. You're acting like it's not a painful decision. I think, what does that got to do with anything? It's like, I killed my wife, but it was a painful decision.
It was painful.
I shot my wife.
And by the way,
I took it seriously.
What I choose to do with my wife should be between a man and his wife.
She was in my house.
She was in my house.
And why are you interfering with my? And it's interesting what the right is doing with abortion is the same thing the left did with cigarettes. They're saying, okay, you got Roe v. Wade, this absolute abuse of power that keeps us from voting the way we want to in our states. So we're just going to sort of just quietly make it unacceptable. And that is what the left did with cigarette smoking. Ultimately, you started to say, even I, who hate the fact that you can't smoke in a bar, I don't smoke anymore, but I hate the fact you can't smoke a cigarette in a bar. That's what bars are for, is go in and drink and smoke cigarettes. Even I sort of was like, it is bad for you, and I think that ultimately, if we make the argument, the principled argument, when we start to say, we're only going to outlaw abortion in abortion clinics and everywhere else. People are going to go like, I'm against that, but I sort of see why.
That's a great analogy because I asked one of the handful of pro-abortion protesters. I said, "So what are you here for?" He said, "We're protesting for our freedom, for our rights." I said, "What about the rights of the baby who's being killed?" He said, "Well, the baby's not a baby." It's a direct quote. "The baby's not a baby." I said, "What is it then?" He said,
Yeah.
He said, "I don't know. What is it?" I said, "It's a baby."
That was like that woman who said when a woman is pregnant, that's not a human being that's inside her. I thought that's like the elevator pitch for a horror movie. But that was not the only place you were. And I saw this, and I was really impressed with this. Because you got attacked in Missouri, the Congress of Missouri basically invited you to speak in their capital.
I got to tell you,
lowers my opinion of Missouri.
I know, it lowers the opinion of Missouri. And luckily, my suit made it out of there this time, all in one piece.
A tie. I didn't know you owned a tie.
I only one. I only have one. I throw it on. I felt I owed the respect to the state senator of Missouri. I was invited very graciously by State Senator Eric Burleson in Missouri, a terrific guy, a real tried and true conservative. And so he said, "This is unacceptable, what happened at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. We're going to defend free speech. You can come here to the state capitol and give your speech and defend free speech. So I didn't have to convince them that men are not women, which was the topic of my UMKC speech.
That is controversial.
So I gave a talk, a robust defense of free speech on campus and a defense of liberal education. The reception was just wonderful. I mean, they really, the state Senate welcomed me in officially.
Including Democrats? Or?
Including Democrats. They sort of looked up and said, okay, you know.
Yeah.
The Assembly was, the House of Representatives there was very kind, gave me a standing ovation when I walked into that chamber. The Lieutenant Governor was very kind. There was some great stuff going on there. They gave me a Missouri corncob pipe, the Missouri meerschaums. That was great.
They shouldn't have done that because you'll smoke it.
I know, I did right there, right in the place. You know, it was really nice to see a functioning state legislature, all the typical political machinations going on, but I got a little peek behind the scenes. After we defended free speech, I got to speak to at least the Republican legislators and make my case for defending liberal education on campus. They strongly pressured the university chancellor, who initially smeared me as some sort of bigot. There was a resolution in the House of Representatives on this topic. He then lied. This Chancellor Molly Agrawal is lying and saying he tried to call me to apologize. I'll show you my cell phone records. Haven't gotten any calls from his office in Missouri. But at least he was dragged before that legislature, and he had to promise not only that he would protect conservatives from being physically assaulted, but that he would punish students who use the heckler's veto.
That's what needs to be done.
I know, and clearly the legislature took this very seriously. They got this guy to say that he would do it, to agree to do it as a policy at that school. Now, we know he's a liar. He's publicly lied multiple times. So I want to trust but verify, which is what the legislators told me they were going to do. They had that Reagan approach. We're going to trust but verify with him. I think there was a major step forward for free speech on campus in Missouri, and I just hope they can repeat it in the rest of the nation. There's other stuff going on in Missouri, though. I mean, it ties into our first story.
Yeah.
There is an abortion bill that is being debated this week, and it's got to happen by Friday because the legislative session is going to end. This is another heartbeat bill, another bill that all these other states are doing, Georgia, around the country. The pro-life movement has never been winning more clearly than we are right now, and it's steady, and the science is on our side, and the images, the argument is on our side.
Right.
And this is not the moment to go weak.
No.
This is the moment for every pro-life activist in the country to push as hard as you possibly can.
Yep. I mean, you got to solve your problem some other way, but by killing people. It's just not the way we solve our problem. What are you talking about on the show?
We're going to be talking about how, according to the left, life is a sexually transmitted disease. We'll be talking about sex strikes from Aristophanes to Alyssa Milano.
Oh, good.
And everything in between.
Somebody called it Alyssa Strata.
Alyssa Strata.
All right. Thanks a lot.